Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Celtic Way morning briefing. My name is Ryan McGinlay, and today I'm joined by Aidan Macdonald. Aidan, how are you doing this morning?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, things are good. Things are certainly heating up in the transfer market, which I can't complain about whatsoever. Just glad that Celtic are getting some business done. Before we start off with today's morning briefing, if you look at the ticker tape at the bottom of the screen, if you subscribe to the Celtic Way website and support top quality football journalism covering the club that you love, if you visit www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe, it's £18 and you'll get a year's worth of access for a single fee of £18. So a really good deal that's on offer. You'll be able to get scouting reports from Stuart Ross, opinion pieces from myself and Aidan, big match verdicts from Tony Haggerty, analysis pieces from Alan Morrison. Basically, everything you could ever ask for in terms of Celtic journalism, it's on the site. So if you want to get involved, then that is your avenue of doing so. Yesterday, Aidan, after we went off the morning briefing, we were wondering if it was going to be a busy day with regards to signings, and it certainly was. It seems as if it was buses. Two players came at once at the one time after waiting ages for players. I think it was 2 weeks we were waiting since the last sort of signing, or since we knew that Kwon and Yang were going to come through the door. Obviously, the two players are now in the door. They both signed 5-year deals. I just want to start off with Kwon because I was pleasantly surprised with his interview. He started speaking in English. You're always quite surprised. I know you shouldn't be surprised, but at the same time, it's pleasantly surprising to hear a player from a different country trying to speak English, trying to endear himself to the fans. He was saying he was talking about how he's going to fight for the badge, fight for the club, and he's delighted to be there. Just on Kwon to begin with, 5-year deal for a defensive midfielder, another midfield reinforcement. What's your sort of overall thoughts so far on what you've seen of Kwon, maybe through the videos and through the opening interview?
Yeah, I think he looks like a positive player. Obviously, Stuart Ross conducted a scouting report on him. It was the end of last year when he shared that on the site yesterday, and he looks like a bit of a destroyer in the middle of the park. For a way to look at it, I know that's somebody that Tony was quite keen to get in, somebody of Con's profile in the middle of the park to sort of break things up a wee bit, particularly in the Champions League. Maybe games against Rangers that you're under a bit more pressure. So yeah, I like what I've seen of him. Obviously, it's not been a lot. It's been the usual sort of YouTube compilations, and then the scouting report offer a bit more of a deep dive. But yeah, no, he looks positive player, and I think he'll be able to bring something and will improve the squad overall, which is what you want from all your new signings.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got his quotes to hand just now. He said that he's very happy to join this club. It is a big honour for me, and now I'm a Celtic player. I'm ready to fight. Let's fight together in paradise. I'm sure he put his fist up as soon as he said that as well. It's fighting talk from a destroyer, so we'll take that. He's definitely got the attitude to play in that position. At least you're just hoping he's as good on the pitch as he is speaking off of it. I am a fighter. My position is a defensive midfielder. I like to cut out opponents' offences. I like to play and pass forward. I am well aware that there are a lot of good Celtic players and very offensive team players. And because I'm a defensive player, I'm pretty sure that I can be a great support, but I can also attack and be offensive myself. I expect to see a lot of synergy and teamwork. And then he goes on to talk about the fact that he was speaking to O as well. I'm pretty sure that O and Kwon both played in the same military side as well. At the same time, there's a picture going around social media of the two doing a salute before the game. Obviously, they've got to do their national service just due to circumstances over there, the ongoing sort of conflict. But it's good. It's good that link up's there. He was saying. So I think it's much better than being alone as a Korean, especially with communication. It's easier for me to communicate with players not only outside but also on the pitch. It will definitely help me settle in at Celtic. This is him talking about how important do you think that is in terms of these two new players coming in? I know we'll speak about Yang in a couple of minutes' time, but just as a general point, how do you think that's helpful, or do you think it's more helpful the fact that O's already there? He's been there 6 months. He knows the ins and outs of living in Scotland. Having that sort of not a tour guide, but a friend or a familiar face to have around the team, to sort of show them about the country and get them acclimatised to life at Celtic.
It can only be a positive thing, and I'm sure it will make the sort of adjustment easier, even if they didn't have the prior relationship that you touched on there. Obviously, Kwon and O doing the national service together, which is a big positive for Kwon as well. That's not something he's going to have to go and do now. Celtic don't need to worry about losing him for that reason, for however long that would have been. So, yeah, I'd imagine that will be a good thing, and it will help both players settle in a lot quicker, which I think is ideal for building an environment and getting them into an impact in the team as soon as possible. It's not long till the league season starts now. Not that far away from Champions League games. That'll be in the next sort of 6-7 weeks. So, guys being able to come in and adjust as quick as possible is vital, and I'm sure the fact that O's already been here, that he'll help that transition.
Sorry, I muted myself there due to some background noise, but they were also talking about, Kwon was talking about the fact that he'd watched Chaduri and Ki Sung Young. That's massive, even though the last time they played was around about 10 years ago for Celtic. Their impact is still being felt on the South Korean team. I remember when Ki and Cha signed, I think it was round about the same sort of time that they both played, but it was a big deal in South Korea. I remember Chaduri being in adverts in South Korea. They were big stars over there before the sort of explosion of Heung-min Son over there, who became the superstar of South Korean football. They were two stars. In fact, they were playing their trade in Europe, made them big stars in their own right. But Celtic have another South Korean through the door as well, perhaps one that maybe wanted the move even more so than Kwon, and Yang Hyun-jun. Yang, it feels as if it's been a transfer saga that's gone on for about 2 months. But he's finally got his move, another 5-year deal from Gangwon FC. I'm just going to pull up some of the quotes that he's been saying. In fact, I'll pull up some of the quotes that Rodgers said about Yang first. So he said of the signing, "We're delighted to bring Yang to the club, and I'm sure he's going to be another great addition to the squad. He's a player that we've looked at closely and who we think we can further enhance our attacking options, which of course already include his fellow countrymen O and Kwon as well. He won Young Player of the Year in South Korea last season, which is an indication of his quality, and I'm sure he'll be looking forward to having a big impact at the club." Then Yang went on to say, it's a bit shorter comment, saying, "I'm very pleased to come to Celtic, and I'm looking forward to meeting my new teammates and begin training with them. This is a move I've wanted to make, so it's great to be here in Scotland and now as a Celtic player. I've spoken to Hyung Yoo Oh, who has already told me great things about the club and its supporters, so I can't wait to meet them and play in front of them." Seems like a guy that's really desperate to be at the club and desperate to make an impact on his new team and his new surroundings.
Yeah, I mean, we've known for a while that Yang's been very keen to join Celtic, so I'd imagine he's just delighted to get it over the line at the club. But yeah, it looks like a positive player. We're hoping he can come in and score plenty of goals from that position, be creative. That's what you want from a winger. Yeah, pretty young as well. He's 20, 21 as well. Is that right? Yeah, both 21. So obviously, not project signs, but still younger players. So yeah, his comments seem quite positive. He seems excited, and as I say, we also had him scouted a wee while ago, which we shared back on the site yesterday. And he looks like he's got parts of his game he can maybe work on a bit, but very effective in the final third, which is what you want from a winger. So yeah, was happy to see him announced as well as Kwon yesterday.
Yeah, I think all the sort of doubts and the worries about him trying to force through a move to Celtic, for me anyway, I think they've gone away now. That the fact that he's at the club now, I just want to see him hit the ground running and be a success for Celtic. 21 years old, Young Player of the Year last season in the K1 League. He's got good pedigree about him. Seems to have a wee bit of pace about him, a bit of trickery. It provides more competition on that right hand side. Tillio's already came through the door, so he'll be fighting for that spot. Look at James Forrest in the background as well. Daiz Maeda can play in that system too. I think Kyogo can play out there. So I think it's a very fluid attacking line that Celtic have got at the moment, and you'll just see players coming in and out of the team that are going to fit into those positions. That picture, the picture that was doing the rounds yesterday, the secret picture, the Lennoxtown. I think we've had a spy in Lennoxtown, or somebody was in the bushes. I don't know who exactly it was, but there was quite clearly three people in new Celtic tops, and that's the thing about this new Celtic home top. It's very, very. It stands out due to the scales and due to the design. So you knew that was a recent photo, and it was a recent snap at Lennoxtown and in the middle, and it did look as if, well, you know that Kwon is absolutely massive and Yang's a wee bit smaller than him, but in the middle you get a guy that doesn't look like, it looks a wee bit different with the blonde hair. and you're assuming that is, of course, the centre back, Mike Nawrocki. Just I think now with regard to Mike Nawrocki, it's a when rather than an if on his part. What you thinking, Aidan? Do you think it'll be today that Celtic announcing? Do you think they'll talk about more good news in Polish on Twitter? How do you think they're going to go about this? And do you think it's going to be today?
I think it is going to be today, Ryan. Yeah, just the fact he was getting photos and that yesterday doesn't really make sense to delay it unless there's some sort of last minute hold up with a clearance for the transfer. But then you'd imagine they wouldn't be in taking photos at the training ground if that was the case. I think it will be in a similar way to the two South Korean boys were announced in terms of Celtic putting out on social media, maybe in Polish, good news, etc. So yeah, I think he'll be announced today, and that'll be quite good. The three players that have been getting linked have then been confirmed, and Celtic can sort of keep doing their business now. And fans can hopefully expect more targets in over the next couple of weeks. But I'm really excited about this player. We also had a scout report up on him yesterday. That he profiled really well. Kind of looks like the first sort of full-on Brendan Rodgers sign. Of course, he will have had to have signed off the four players, I should say, that have came through the door so far. But I don't think it's unfair for us to believe that they were probably in the pipeline to an extent. We know at least Kwon was anyway, because he was being linked for the January transfer window. They probably were there in the pipeline under Ange. So this feels like maybe the first player that Rodgers actually came specifically to the recruitment team with and said, look, I think we should go after this guy, which makes it even more exciting for me, to be honest. But yeah, the fee, he seems like a decent enough fee, right profile, centre back, which is a position that I know you, Tony, and I all agreed that we had to fill. So yeah, I'm really positive with that, and hopefully it'll be announced today.
Yeah, really, really good pedigree about him. Brendan Rodgers knows all about him because he played against, or his Leicester team played against Legia Warsaw 2 years ago when he was a 20-year-old, sort of making his way into that Warsaw first team. I think it was 86-87% passing accuracy. He didn't get dribbled past once, and you've got to think 2 years ago, that was when Patson Daka was really coming into the swing of things with the start of his Leicester career. I remember he had a couple of goals to begin his career. So he would have been, it was at the end of September, I'm sure it was match day 2, if they played against Leicester. So they would have had Ian Acho, Jamie Vardy, Patson Daka, players like Harvey Barnes. The fact that Mike Nawrocki didn't get dribbled past once in that game is an indication of his quality. And you're just hoping that he is a better player than he was 2 years ago. He's been honing his skills at Legia Warsaw, getting used to being in the first team, and he's ready to just come in and make his name at Celtic. £5 million, that's a significant outlay for Celtic. Celtic paid £6.5 million for Cameron Carter-Vickers, so you'd expect a player of round about the same quality or the same potential that Carter-Vickers has, that Nawrocki will bring to the team. That's me getting mixed up because the two of them are about 13 feet between the two of them in that picture at Lennoxtown. But yeah, £5 million, big name player, looking to break into the Poland national team. I think he's got under 20 caps for them. He'll be hoping that with this move, he can then break into that Poland national team. I know they're going through a bit of a rebuild at the moment. One of their main players, Glick, I think he's about 35, 36. He's been a mainstay in that Poland defence. So it's made that position freed up for younger players to come through. Obviously, being at Celtic and being in the Champions League, having that regular exposure in European football, that can only help him internationally with his prospects, can't it?
Yeah, it's exactly the sort of platform the club want to be providing. You can go and break into a national team through the platform of the Champions League, playing across, trying to win 3 trophies. It's exactly how Celtic should be selling the club as a project to these sort of guys. They hopefully stay here maybe 2-3 years, do well, and then you sell them on from a profit. It's exactly, on the outside anyway, it seems like the exact ideal type of transfer and the sort of profile of player Celtic should be going for. So fingers crossed we'll see a few more players like him between now and the end of the transfer window. And you're right to say it is a significant outlay for the club. Between 4 and 5 million for a defender. It is a lot, but that shows you that Brendan Rodgers and obviously the recruitment staff really believe in a player of Nawrocki's quality. Obviously, the money that's been spent in the last 2 years significantly. Carter Vickers, as you touched on, Jota. We know how successful they've both been. So Obviously, there was, unfortunately, in the past, maybe a bit of financial mismanagement in terms of how the funds were spent during the transfer window. But over the last few seasons, it's been a lot more positive, and they've only really went and shelled out money, a lot of money, I should say, on guys who the club's been pretty confident on. So fingers crossed, this guy's going to tick that box.
Yeah, and it was always nice to hear a former Celtic player talking up the club, and Josip Juranovic too. I read somewhere as well that Union Berlin were interested in signing Nawrocki, so I don't know if Josip Juranovic has a wee bit of a conflict of interest there, because he does play for Union Berlin as well. So if he's done his team out of signing a player, then I don't know how they'll feel. I'm sure they've got plenty of reinforcements, and they've got a great scouting system as well, so they'll get themselves sorted for a central defender. Just as a general point, going into the 5 more weeks of the transfer window, you would say around about that time. Do you think there's any positions that are significantly like a problem position? Do you think there are any signings or any positions that stand out with regard to needing signings ahead of the new season?
Yeah, I think there's a couple. Ryan, goalkeeper being probably the one that stands out to me the most. Right back, maybe not as sort of much of a worry until we get confirmation over Alistair Johnson and their Ralston's status. They're both out injured at the moment. Even if Ralston comes back quite soon, if Johnson's out for 2-3 months, I think that would then become a priority position for me. If they're both going to be available relatively soon, I don't think that will be the case, but if it is, then maybe that goes down the pecking order a wee bit in terms of importance. But those would be two areas I would highlight at the moment, and a sort of specific Jota replacement as well. I know Yang can come in and play off either side, I believe, but I think you'd be wanting a sort of marquee type signing, given the money that Celtic take in from Jota, the guaranteed money from the Champions League as well. No, that's about 55 million there between that, not including if you then go and do well in the Champions League and pick up points, etc. And if anybody else was to leave. So yeah, I think fans are hoping for somebody to come in. If you want to kind of class that as maybe a left wing, I know Jota could play across both sides, but you would imagine that that he's kind of taking that as his favoured position. So yeah, those are probably the three main areas. Don't get me wrong, I think there's other positions Celtic could strengthen in, but if there was three sort of positions that are a must at the moment for me between now and the closing of the transfer window, it'd be those three.
Yeah, I would agree with the goalkeeping position especially. Now, I'm not saying that Joe Hart can't do a good job, because we know he has done a good job for the past 2 seasons. I just think for long-term planning and long-term continuity within the team, that a younger goalkeeper has got to be scouted. The fact that Celtic are going to be down another goalkeeper, because it looks as if Toby Oloyemi, along with Matthew Anderson, they're both away to Admiral Wacker. I'm not sure exactly the pronunciation of that team, but it pretty much confirms that there is a partnership in place between Celtic and the Austrian second Bundesliga side. They're looking to get back into the top flight of the Austrian Bundesliga, and Celtic are going to try and help them with that with regard to sending B team players over, which I think gives them both. It helps both sides, because Admiral Wacker are getting two young players that are looking to make their name in the professional game, and Celtic are giving them. And Celtic are getting their younger players game time in a professional sort of setting, and in terms of the physicality as well, they'll be playing at a better level. The second tier of Austria is far better than the fifth tier of Scottish football. So that is a step up for them. Good to get them game time and then harden them up for coming back to Celtic potentially. Just on that partnership, are you happy to see that that's come to fruition, and that Celtic have now got a pathway for the players to go out on loan abroad in Austria to sort of further their talent and further their game time?
I think it's nothing but positive, Ryan. To be honest, I know you did a newsletter on it. Was it last month? Just talking about it when it was first getting rumoured at the time that the partnership was in place. We hadn't heard that much about it after that, I should say, before this sort of news broke yesterday that Celtic are, as you say, reportedly putting Matthew Anderson and Toby Oloyemi from the B team on loan to this club. And yeah, I think it's a good thing. It allows them to develop in a stronger league than they probably would if they were still playing Lowland League, or maybe even if they were to go out on loan to a sort of League One or League Two club in Scotland. So yeah, I think it's positive. Fingers crossed it will be the first of many in terms of a pathway, and it'll be healthy in terms of them going over there, being successful. Potentially, if that club then gets promoted, I'm unsure on their sort of standing in Austrian football, but if they do get promoted in the next couple of years, you could then potentially be able to send guys to a top flight club in Austria, which would be really, really positive. And then ideally they come back and then they perform well. I think it's ideal, Ryan, to be honest. It's probably something Celtic have needed for a while now. We don't know the specifics of the partnership, but we're kind of just taking it what it was reporting back in the day, I should say, back last month. We're just taking it at face value, what your newsletter, etc. was about. Then if that's how the partnership's been run, I think it's a real positive for Celtic, and it'll allow the club to develop their young players. I think it's going to be involving like sharing data analysis as well and things like that. So yeah, I think it's ideal and a real positive for Celtic. Something, as I say, I think it should have been in place a while ago, but thankfully it seems to be moving now.
Yeah, I know that Celtic have had partnerships in the past with teams like Santos Laguna. There's been a sort of healthy relationship with St Pauli as well, but it's good to have this partnership. We don't have it in writing as of yet, but the fact that there's players coming from Celtic to Admira following the links of a partnership pretty much confirm the fact that that partnership is in place between the two teams. They are 9-time Austrian champions. They are kind of a historical club in Austria. Right now, the Austrian league is a bit of a one-horse race due to the fact that Red Bull Salzburg pretty much rule the roost over there with regard to signing players. They sign players from different parts of Europe and from Africa as well. They build them up and sell them on to either Leipzig or Bundesliga teams. But some of the players that came through that team at Salzburg, Celtic have played them a couple of times before, and you instantly see the quality that they possess in terms of young players, 20, 21-year-olds. So, I mean, if Admira were to go up a league and into the Austrian Bundesliga, the top flight, then I would probably see more, not higher quality young players, but maybe more players going from Celtic to that if they are playing in the Bundesliga. That could be great for their career, and it's great for in terms of a lifestyle as well. It gets them away from Scotland for a bit, allows them to grow up away from the club and then come back hopefully as adults and as different people, as more mature people in the process. So yeah, there are a lot of positives to that move, and you just hope that can get developed and further developed with more teams around the world, because it'd be good to be able to send your players to places that you know that they're going to get game time due to the partnership, and then both sides will see the benefits, won't they, Aidan?
Absolutely, and even better if the team get promoted. Ryan, maybe that would be when you see maybe more highly thought of talents. And I mean, not that the two players that are going this year aren't, regarded highly by the first team, because that they wouldn't have been given contract extensions if that wasn't the case. But particularly Matthew Anderson. But I think you might see maybe next season if the move goes well for these two, somebody like Rocco Vata potentially even going. If somebody like him, who we think's they've got to be a good prospect, if he was then able to go and play in the Austrian Bundesliga in 12 months' time, that'd be phenomenal. And yeah, like I say, I think there's only good things to come from this, and I'm really excited to see how it develops over the next year or so.
Yeah, absolutely. From going on to players that quite a good segue from players that have been developed away from the club. We can talk about one that's really been developed at the club through his career. I mean, he's 32 now, but he made his way through the Celtic Academy 10, 13, 14 years ago. It's been ages since he was first when he burst onto the scene into the first team. James Forrest, obviously, his testimonial is this time next week. It'll be next Tuesday. He'll come up against Athletic Club, and he was talking through the media last night. He was revealing the only time he considered a Celtic transfer exit, and it was before Brendan Rodgers' first appointment as manager. That was when Rory Dyler left the club, when his career was in a bit of a purgatory state, a bit of a crossroads. And then Brendan Rodgers came in and sort of not saved the day, but revitalised his career and made him the sort of success that we know he has been for years, in the years since. The amount of trophies that he's won, I think it's 11 league titles. It's incredible for a player. He'll be one of Celtic's most decorated players, and he's looking to make more of an impact this season. He was talking about the differences between Brendan Rodgers and Ange Postecoglou in terms of their man management style. If I could just read some of these quotes. So it was saying, maybe in my head the most uncertainty I've had was when the gaffer now was coming in to the club the first time. But then within a week, I knew there was no questions on my side. I knew what I wanted, and it wasn't just me either. There were other boys at the time who raised their game, and he got a lot out of them. He really brought everyone's potential out of them. So with that in mind, I think it's really good for young boys here now that the gaffer has come back. I've had a few managers down the years, but this gaffer is just brilliant at the man management side of the game. Tactically, he's fantastic as well. He's just saying that he's a top manager and he makes the players believe in themselves. He goes on to talk about his spell under Ange Postecoglou. We know he's been in and out of the side, one due to injuries, another due to just competition in the wing positions. He's saying, I maybe didn't start as many games as I would have wanted to, but we have so many good players and the team was flying. I felt I did contribute at times when I was picked, and I definitely felt like I learned under him. I enjoyed the last 2 years and took so many positives from that time. Just the comments on Ange Postecoglou. It is good to see that although he didn't play as many games as he would have liked under the previous manager, the fact that he's got such a high opinion of him, I think shows how well the previous manager did do with the squad in the last spell. But it is good to hear that Brendan Rodgers is a very popular person with some of the familiar faces you hear from Callum McGregor talking about all the success that he's brought to the team and the fact that he's delighted that he's back, and now hearing from James Forrest. That only bodes well for the future, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, clearly, we don't need to go over Ange too much because we've discussed him a lot, obviously, and he's no longer here. But clearly, yeah, even though it's going to be a different style to Brendan Rodgers in terms of how he managed the players, maybe what went on at training, it was undoubtedly effective. So I'm not surprised to hear that Forrest thinks so highly of him. Obviously, Brendan Rodgers was the kind of guy that probably got the best out of James Forrest. That sort of maybe 16, 17, 17, 18 to an extent. That season where he kind of left before the end of it was probably James Forrest's 3 best years at Celtic. I don't have the stats in front of me. I know at least one of those seasons was his best in terms of goal scoring and assists, and he got Celtic Player of the Year one of those years as well. I'm pretty sure, as well as being nominated for the sort of full like end of year awards across the league. And yeah, I think you seen that at that time he had like Patrick Roberts pushing him, and there was a real fight for that right wing position. That was when he got the best out of him. Obviously, it's a bit different now. He's a bit older. His injuries have started to pile up again. That was something that was really good during the Brendan Rodgers era with Forrest. His best sort of spell of fitness, he was very rarely out injured in those kind of 3 seasons. Whereas before, we know it was like he'd miss a lot of time under Wen and under Daiwa, and unfortunately, kind of post Rodgers leaving during the sort of COVID season, he was injured. Then the last couple of seasons, he's had quite a few knocks. I think he can still contribute to an extent, but it'll be very limited. I'd imagine it'll be mostly off the subs bench. I don't think you'll see many games that he starts. I know he sort of started the game at Ibrox in January, and that was probably seen as a bit of a surprise. I don't think I can see any curveballs like that being thrown by Rodgers involving Forrest. But there's a place there as an experienced player, even something as basic as he sort of fills the homegrown quota. Maybe a wee bit cynical to look at it like that, but it is true. I think he's still got, is it 2 years left on his deal? So
I'd imagine at the end of last season.
I'd imagine he'll probably see that out, I would assume. So if he can keep himself fit, I'm sure he can still contribute with the odd goals and assists. You've seen he got a hat-trick against Hibs last season, I think it was. He can still chip in with a goal here and there, but he's just not somebody you can even really rely on across the season just because of the injuries he's had in his career, Ryan. And you know what it's like, is that he's 32, isn't he? So at that age for a winger, even if you've kind of kept fit, you are going to lose that turn of pace. So maybe he might try and adjust his game a wee bit, play him inside. I'm unsure, but yeah, I'm happy for James Forrest to be there, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was his appearances were still a bit limited this season.
Yeah, I think he's a bit of like a legacy player with regard to what role he will fulfil in the team. No one's doubting he's been an absolutely tremendous servant for Celtic. Many even throw the term legend, and with the trophy haul that he does have, it's very difficult to argue against that fact. I mean, he's basically his whole time at Celtic. It's been a success. It's been during the glory days. He'll go down as one of Celtic's highest ever trophy earners, you would say, with regard to the amount of trophies that he's accumulated over his career. You think about the big goals that he scored. There's loads that spring to mind. You go against Shakhtar Karagandhi, that goal, was it to make it 3-0 Celtic against Rangers, the one that ended 5-0? I think that was one of my favourite goals, with regard to the fact that I was still celebrating the second goal from Edward, and then James Forrest goes up and scores a minute later. You know, these big moments, very much he came up trumps in some of the big moments in games with his goals. So yeah, I don't have any problems with him staying around, because, you know, he'll come on, he'll make a bit part impact, and he deserves the accolade of a testimonial, because of his loyalty shown throughout the years. And it'll be a good test for Celtic against Athletic Club. Celtic have great links with that club as well. That would be a club that I would be wanting Celtic to form more of a partnership with. You know, the way that they develop their own players, and they can only play with Basque players, it's something that really, really interests me. And the fact that they've kept that going even in the modern game, I find it absolutely fascinating. So maybe we wouldn't be able to send players out on loan, because none of them could qualify under that Basque rule. But, you know, in terms of more of a strategic, in terms of data, I think that would be a good team to further the partnership with, because the fans certainly get on. But we know they've gotten on in the past, and you're hoping that relationship is maintained.
Absolutely, I think you're right to touch on it. Will be a good test. These last two games, really, Wolves on Saturday and then Athletic Club on Tuesday. That's a sort of real strong end to the pre-season. I think Japan was undoubtedly a test, maybe in a different way. Yokohama were obviously a top team. Gamble Saka not quite as strong, but still playing in that heat. Making sure they've given Rodgers plenty to think about, and then you end the sort of pre-season with a game against a Premier League side, and then a match against a La Liga team who, you know, in recent years have been in Copa del Rey finals. I think they might even have won the Copa del Rey at some point over the last 3 or 4 years. So yeah, it's really positive, and that's the sort of test you need before you're going into the competitive season starting next Saturday. So yeah, all positive at the moment for me, Ryan, whether it's the transfer news, the partnership that Celtic will now have with the Austrian club, and Forrest's comments. It all seems to be going okay at the moment.
Yeah, everything seems to be in a much better shape than it was at least a week ago. I think those 3 signings have definitely helped the not even the mood of the place, but I think the feeling around everything. The fact that there's 3 new bodies now coming in through the door. I know 2 of them have been announced. One of them's basically going to get announced within hours, you would expect. But it's an exciting time for the club. 2 big games coming up against Wolves and Athletic Club, respectively. 2 big challenges. Obviously, coming up against the former Spain manager Lopetegui, and then we're coming up against a Spanish team in La Liga that always seems to be riding high most seasons. So yeah, it is a really good test, and I'm looking forward to seeing how Celtic cope with that step up in quality. Just before we finish, if I could just draw everybody's attention to the ticker tape again below. If you subscribe to the Celtic Way website and support top quality football journalism covering the club you love at www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe, and if you spend £18, that'll cover you for the whole year, and you will be sorted until this time next year. So you'll have the whole season pretty much accounted for. You'll get opinion pieces from myself and Aidan, big match interviews from big interviews from Tony Haggerty, big match verdicts from Tony as well. Scouting pieces from Stuart Ross, Alan Morrison's tactic pieces, and plenty more. Whatever. Depending on what anything that's
We're covered from all angles.
Yeah, that's it. All angles are covered. Thanks for saving me there. You know, I get mixed up a wee bit with my words there, but thanks for saving me. But I think we'll leave it there at that. 33 minutes talking about Celtic. You can't complain, can you?
No, you can't. There was plenty to cover today, and I'm sure there will be between now and the end of the week. Obviously, we'll be building into the Wolves game at the weekend, then Athletic Club, and of course building up to the big one, the start of the Scottish Premiership season against Ross County on August the 5th. So, no, exciting times, Ryan.
Yeah, very, very exciting times, and I'm looking forward to covering it with you and Tony. We'll be back tomorrow at the same time for Wednesday's briefing. But in the meantime, thank you everybody for your comments. Thank you for tuning in, and we will catch you at the same time tomorrow. Cheers, guys.